Come on.
And we are a go. We are a go-go. Thanks again,
Go,
Charles,
go.
for the lovely, yes, we got the beat. Thanks, Charles, for the lovely introduction song, as usual. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Our Parents' Basement. I am so glad to be back. Last week, I had some technical difficulties. That sucked. But I am back with you all this evening, and I'm happy to be here, and we have another topic for us to talk about, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good show. In fact, I know it's going to be a very good show. So I'm excited. So let's get into it. I'm Philip, no longer experiencing any technical issues. I am back in the hosting chair for the evening, and with me are two wonderful, wonderful friends. The first is Jason, but I call him Turf. And Turf, how are you tonight?
Man, I am well. I am happy to be here. I am ready for another Thursday of Our Parents' Basement. This would just be, it's better than Super. This night's going to be ultra.
Ultra. Nice. I had a feeling you were going to say something like that. So I wasn't interrupting you. I was trying to, in sync with you. So hope you don't mind. And also.
Bye.
Exactly. Yeah, it was, yeah. Yep. There's a lot of other songs we could talk. And we also got, I'm losing my train of thought already. See, this is what happens when you're away for a long time. You start to get back into the swing of things. But yes. We are also joined by the lovely Charles. And Charles, how are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. How are you today?
I am good, thank you. Was commenting earlier how you look so much less stressed now that you are, taking a little bit of a break from summer classes and,
I'm
just
taking a fall
out.
break from summer classes.
Taking a fall break.
I said, fuck these summer class.
Yeah, you're taking a summer break from summer classes, which is fine. But let it have you along. Fall. Yeah, you got this in the fall. This is time to rest the brain, hit a little bit of a reset button, and hit it hard when is the next term start? September,
August 29th. All right. I think
it's pretty soon, so you got time to chill out. But anyways, welcome to the two of you. Tonight, as you both know, is our 64th episode. And in honor of that, we are going to be discussing the Nintendo 64. One of, no, it's not one of my favorite systems. I'm not going to lie. It's not one of my favorite systems at all, but it is a system that has a lot of history. It is a system that has a lot of polarity. I see a lot of people who love it, a lot of people who hate it, and very few in between about it. So, yeah, Nintendo 64. I remember when it was first announced, it was kind of kept under wraps. I believe it was supposed to be called Nintendo Ultra or
the Ultra 64.
I'm like, what is Nintendo doing? What could they possibly do?
I think that's why the 1996 issue of Nintendo Power, they said Happy New Year's NU for the Nintendo Ultra.
Well, I wonder why they didn't go with that naming convention. They had the NES, the SNES, the Super NES. Why didn't you just go with the UNES, the Ultra Nintendo Entertainment System?
I don't know.
I like it.
I like that. I really like the logo for the Nintendo 64. I mean, I like that cube-looking end and the numbers that looks like they're exponents. I think that's fun. But Ultra would have worked just as well.
To the 64th power.
Exactly. They were all about the number. 64.
Yeah, that comes up a little later about the 64s. The 64s.
The 64th power, if you will.
Yes.
The exponents. Yeah, buddy. Well, now we had one. It was about maybe 3 years after it was released. This was right around the time when the PS2 was starting to get the talks of that were going around. So we were kind of late to jump on the Nintendo 64 bandwagon, but I knew a lot of friends who had that. And back in those days, you were either Team 64 or Team PlayStation. Unfortunately, the poor Saturn didn't get much love from anyone, which is a damn shame, but we won't get into that right now.
People care now. They wish they would have cared then, but nobody cared at the time. With the Ultra NES that I'm going to start calling it from now on. I've christened it the Ultra NES. I don't know who I think I am, but I did anyways.
That's all good.
Yeah, I got one Christmas of 1996. I was right there at the beginning. Of course, this was I guess me and my brother we were given one by our parents, and it was was sweet. You know, we had Mario 64. I believe we had Shadows of the Empire.
And all right.
We were given one, you know, for Christmas, and we enjoyed the heck out of it, played the heck out of it. It was groundbreaking at the time. Well, we'll talk about that in here in a minute, kind of just a little intro here. But yeah, I've got more to talk about. So there we go.
All right. So you had one at launch. We had one a few years later. And Charles, what about you?
I got one almost a year ago.
So you're a late comer to the 64.
Yeah, I just got it and got a few games.
But you played one, you know, before, obvious. I'm guessing.
A little bit, yeah, in the little store demos.
Oh, so none of your friends or family had a 64? Really? Okay. See, that's interesting. I always knew someone had a 64. Like, and this is kind of a side story. Like, I knew one person who had a 64 with a game I really, really liked. I don't really care for him as a friend, but I cared for his game console. So I would go over to his house to say, "Hey, just came to hang out." You know, subtext, let's play that video game on Nintendo 64. I'm not going to say the game yet because we're not going to talk about games right now. But you probably can guess it later. But anyways, yeah, so we were a PlayStation family until much later. So yeah, the Nintendo 64 for us as well didn't get too much didn't get too much love. Now, like any console, there is some good, there's some bad, there's some, you know, ugly with it. And I will be honest, I am one of the few people that thinks that one of the good aspects of the Nintendo 64 is the controller. I actually like that upside down Poseidon Trident controller. What about you two? What do you think of the controller?
I'm very in. There's good and bad to the controller. Even I like the option. I could still use a D-pad, but hey, look at this. We've got an analog stick. We're the first ones to do that. People forget that. The Nintendo 64 is it was before the DualShock.
Yeah,
it was. This is the first time we got to use an analog stick. You could push it just a little bit, and Mario would walk. You pushed it a lot of bit, and Mario would run. And that was great. That was groundbreaking. That was earth shattering. So we had 6 buttons over here. We had these silly C buttons, which that's falls in. That's the bad part of the controller, in my opinion. The trident shape fit in my hands. I mean, I got pretty good sized mitts, so it would fit. It would fit in my hands. I could grab like the 2 handles, and I got buttons over here, and I got the Z button in the back.
That was cool.
The Z trigger. That was the first time for a trigger. I mean, we had the top buttons on the Super Nintendo, but I believe that was the first one that was like short enough right there in the grip.
Yeah.
So we had the Z trigger back there. We had the A and B buttons, and then the C buttons and L and R, and we had a D-pad and the analog stick. So there was a lot of options and a lot of things I could do with that. So I thought it was a good controller, at the time especially. It's definitely been improved on since, but it had a lot of really good ideas. It was the first one to have those C buttons. You had to control the camera. That's what the C was for. They were the camera buttons, because we're in a 3D world now. We've got to control the camera. So all of those first-person shooters that you play, your Call of Duties and your Battlefields and whatever else, you look around with the right stick. That was the C buttons. Nintendo did that first. Sony may have improved on it, but yeah.
What about you, Charles? What did you think of that crazy controller?
It's awkward for me still. Like different games, you have to hold it different ways for different games.
You do. That's true. That's
one of those polarizing things. It's going to be like, I think, look, we hold it different ways for different games because that's more options. And then somebody new to it, or some people go, you have to hold it different from different games. This is stupid.
Remember that kid who was playing Smash Brothers at Louisville? He was holding the controller like this against his chest.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I missed that. You should have pointed that out. We could have laughed at him together.
And he was kicking ass.
We would have been intimidated by him together.
And I think he moved on to like got through like at least the first 2 rounds or something like that. And he was just holding upside down all weird. And it worked.
I think next time we go to Louisville, and if you partake in the Smash tournament, Charles, we're gonna have some 80s montage training sessions with you, just so you can learn the mechanics a little bit better. But that's another story. I think that the controller was uniquely designed. I love its shape. I mean, you can cut a bitch with it because it's 3-pronged. That's cool. But I think the weakest aspect for me wasn't necessarily the C buttons. It was the fragility of that analog stick. It was just really easy to bend and break, especially if you were like, playing something that's kind of more intense, like, I don't know, well, Mario Party is pretty infamous for breaking those because you have to rotate it. But trying to think about, like, maybe like a first-person shooter, those analog sticks just seemed like they could just, give in at any time.
See, I didn't really think it was that. I never had any problem with it. Even the ones that I had when I was younger, they're not loose. Mario Party was the only thing that really just destroyed them.
Because you had to go like this.
Yeah, you did the twirly thing.
Yeah,
and it would absolutely wreck them. But I wasn't that rough on them. I don't know what everybody else was doing with them. I just assumed every loose one I got came from somebody playing Mario Party.
Okay. We never had Mario Party. I just heard stories. But even without it, like, it just seemed it was a little fragile. That's all. But again, no issues, and I guess it's an easy fix as well if they snap off. So there's that to keep in mind too. But so yeah, the controller is one thing I thought was good. But I mean, there's more to a console than a controller. What else? I mean, I'm like hogging the spotlight here, you two.
Okay, well, I'll jump in there. I'm not scared to start talking. The number one thing that was a seller for me when I saw this is the 4 control ports in the front. Like, dude.
Oh, that's another one. Good one.
In the time I was a teenager, hit me right between the eyes. Me and my buddies would play couch co-op on stuff all the time. We might have 4 guys there. So we got 4 controllers now, man. We don't have to have a multi-tap or like these games that have the option for 4-player, but we don't have the extra accessory. We just plug right in the front of this thing. That was a huge selling point to me.
That was a big deal. Like, those who were Team 64, one of their arguments was, oh yeah, well, we have 4 control ports. You only have 2 in your PlayStation and maybe your Saturn.
Exactly. And well, think about that now. How many controls does a Xbox support or a PlayStation 4? How many at a time? It's 4. They may be wireless now, but they kind of set the standard. As much as people want to hate on the Nintendo 64 or the Ultra NES, then
the Oons if you're nasty.
Yeah, the Unis. Anyways, it sounds sexy if you do it like in a Latin accent. The Unis. Anyways,
sounds like
the Unis. You can play with the Quattro player at the time. So.
Oh, you sound Spanish. All right, Olé or something.
Anyways, that was a big selling point for me. There was a lot of games that were 4-player that me and my buddies spent hours on.
Oh yeah,
lots and lots of time. So it was definitely a selling point and definitely a win for that generation to me.
And the PlayStation did not have that, Saturn did not have that, and then when you went to the next generation, you know what? GameCube took the 4 controllers thing, and Dreamcast took that 4 controller port thing. Sony did not. So good on you, Nintendo, for starting that trend. That's very cool.
And then eventually everybody comes around, right?
Nintendo, look, they're trendsetters. What can I say? But so we have a good controller. We have 4 of them. You can plug and play at any time. And what else is good about this console?
I kind of mentioned it before, but the analog stick. I mentioned it in depth. I didn't just kind of mention it. It was a first, and it's a biggie, man. Everybody uses it now. You use an analog stick if you play with a controller. So that was another one that I chalked up to a good.
I think another good part of it was, I think if you wanted 3D graphics, the console of choice was the 64. Is that the one that had the most, power to display that?
Well, once you put the expansion pack. Once you put that in there, then yeah, it did. It had the most juice.
All right, so cool.
It would do the most triangles, the most polygons, if you will.
All righty. So we have that as well. That's also another good aspect of it. And I think this was only relevant when Star Fox 64 came out, but Rumblepack,
I forgot about that.
Controllers that rumble, like they make you feel as though you're a part of the action. Not really, but at the time, it was pretty cool.
Oh, the first time I was playing Star Fox, it scared the hell out of me.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, the haptic feedback and what they call it, the rumble, whatever.
Yeah,
that was Nintendo did that first. Once again, every controller has rumble in it now. It was great, and I really enjoyed it. I really would like to find a box for the Rumblepack. If anybody has one, for the Rumblepack and Star Fox. I need one of those. So just throwing it out there.
Oh man. What about you, Charles? We haven't heard from you since a minute ago.
I'm so new.
You're still new to it, I know.
Yeah, so I'm still getting used to all the what it could do. So
yeah, that's something that is good for it, in my opinion. Is marked up as a good. They actually use the expansion port. The most systems, like the NES, had an expansion port. I believe the Super Nintendo has one on the bottom of it. There's nobody used it. Well, Nintendo 64 said, "Hey, you pop that jumper pack out and put this little doodad in there, and we'll jump up your graphics a little bit. We'll take away some of that fog."
I see they also did the disk drive too.
You know,
the bottom, which didn't come out in the US. I don't think it did.
No, it did. There was a US prototype that
Metal
Jesus rocks. Y'all met him at Retropalooza last year, right?
Yeah.
He has one. He bought a odd in 64 DD, and then he got with some people that worked at Nintendo at the time. Like, yeah, this is a prototype. So that's cool.
How do you get his hands on that? What?
Well, he lives in that area, and he lives in around
Seattle. I thought
Seattle, right?
Oh,
so that was where Nintendo of America is. So somebody retires.
Duh.
Richmond, Washington, which is a suburb of Seattle, I believe, or near Seattle. So, the dude, he found one, and that's amazing. So
that is pretty cool.
It's very cool. I had a chance to buy one for, I think it was like $250 for that in like 7 games
which is 90% of the games.
Yeah, it was like $250, and I wouldn't do it. And that's been 5 or 6 years ago, and I've been kicking myself for that ever since.
This hobby can get let's not get into that. I'm going to go on a tangent, and we don't got time for that. Anyway, so we were talking about the Rumblepack last. Yeah, the good. I can't think of any other good though. I mean, you guys might have some, but I don't.
Well, I'm going to chalk this up to a good, even though we're going to talk about it in a little while. The games, it had the first part of Nintendo games. Nintendo games are good. They're still fun, but we'll get into that more in depth in a minute. But I think personally, the PlayStation did have a lot of really, really good games on it, but the N64 had its top 25 games were better than anything on the PlayStation. Except for maybe the Castlevania game that I can't think of his name right now. Symphony of the Night.
Oh, love that game.
That's a good game. And Castlevania Chronicles was really good.
It is.
But other than that,
the other ones.
I mean, I'll back up and say that the PlayStation did have NBA Live that I was really into at the time, and it had Madden. Of course, the Nintendo 64 had Madden too. So, anyways, I'm rambling. Y'all just
that's all right. That's right. Because you think the game library was a good. To me,
I think definitely
it was a bad aspect of it.
Well, that's because you like different games than I do.
Exactly. I have very, very niche esoteric tastes, and for some reason, like Nintendo didn't want to cater to folks like us. That's not to say I was so isolated in my game taste, but I mean, I wanted something more than just Mario jumping around and throwing penguins off cliffs. Don't lie to yourself. You've all done it. And Mario Kart and things like that. I wanted something different, something fresh, something from Square or Atlas or do we get? I'm not Konami. I don't know. Just I'm the same as some third-party developers that could have thrown me an RPG or two. And I didn't get that.
This is going to be falling into like the good and the bad. And is the cartridges. It was the last system to use, I guess, actual cartridges in the general sense before we got like flash memory and SD style cards. We didn't have loading times, so that was a good.
True, very
true.
Put
it in and it played, but it was more expensive to make, and you couldn't have multi-disc games. So Square said, "Well, we're just going to pack up our toys and go to the house and say, hey, PlayStation, do you want to play?" So Nintendo did not lost out on all those glorious RPGs that Square made.
That's basically why we went PlayStation, because that was my taste, and they had other things as well, like on the PlayStation, like they had some good fighting games on there. They had a few little action games, some racing stuff, and you know, my siblings were younger at the time. They had some good stuff for kids, so PlayStation was just a better choice all around at the time.
And it had a lot of the games. The games had voice. That was a biggie for the PlayStation. Was over the we're kind of getting into the bad of the N64. The lack of the voice that PlayStation had. Whenever I was playing NBA Live, it might have been mispronouncing names, but it was saying Spurl instead of Spreewell. That's what sticks out to me. It would, whenever you're playing NBA Live, it would say names, and that was really, really cool.
This is 64 or?
No, that would have been PlayStation.
Oh,
the 64 wouldn't do that. It didn't have the voice because it didn't have the storage capability that the CD had. The cartridges wouldn't hold as much.
Because this is kind of more of a good Mario. That was the first time we heard Mario speak, and I was like,
Absolutely.
"Holy shit, he has a voice!" I thought that was awesome.
That's what a lot of people's first toy or first playing of a Nintendo 64 was in a kiosk. They were stretching Mario's face.
Yep.
It's a me. It's a Mario.
They let it go, and it rubber bands back and forth for a second, and then I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So, but that was more like Nintendo showing, "Hey, look what we can do with this." You know, that really wasn't, you know. So yeah, the bad, for me was definitely the game library. Expense, price, that's another one. I mean, those cartridges were expensive. I'm not sure if they're how durable they are. I mean, usually cartridges are pretty sturdy. You don't want to bang them around, but
I've never had a Nintendo 64 game that I could not get to work.
Yeah,
you clean the system just like you can the NES and the SNES. So it's a good one. It's tough, man. It's a tank. You can drop it off a building and it'll still play.
That's another thing. Yeah, the console itself is pretty sturdy, and it's pretty lightweight too. Like, remember the Saturn's a freaking behemoth. It's heavy. And the PlayStation, I can't recall its weight at the top of my head, but you know, one thing I do like about the 64 is it's kind of a little light and easy to port around. So, and speaking of which, the color options. This didn't come out until later, but you had like a clear, like a periwinkle blue Nintendo 64. You had a jungle green Nintendo 64. You had like a citrus orange one.
Let's be proper. That was ice blue, sir.
Ice blue. What'd I say?
You said periwinkle. It was definitely periwinkle.
I was getting technical on your asses.
No, I'm getting it technical. That was the actual name. There was watermelon.
Oh, it was ice blue.
There was flame or atomic. Was it atomic
red?
It wasn't atomic
red. It was watermelon red.
I have food in my brain, so I said citrus orange.
Atomic blue.
It's not atomic. No, just stop looking at price charting because those are wrong. It's not atomic. The atomic purple was the controller. That an atomic. It was actually the name of that. But I believe it was flame orange, watermelon red, grape purple, ice blue. This is the futuristic series. What else would there have been? Jungle green.
There's a gold one.
Yeah, there's the gold Toys R Us one.
Yeah. And I see some are like yellow and blue. No, that's just controllers.
No, there's Pokemon.
Oh yeah, Pokemon one. Yeah, the Pokemon one too. Yeah.
I have all of them except for the gold one. It still eludes me.
Do you want to get that one too, or?
I want the gold one for sure. It's on my short list of things to find.
Right on. I think that's cool. I like options. You know, PlayStation only was gray. Saturn was only black. So I like having the variety of colors to choose.
The color shells were cool, so I like them, and I like the different color controllers. You get blue and red. I mean, outside and yellow, even outside the futuristic colors, there was like one that's like I don't know, it's Mountain Dew yellow. I don't know what else to call it. It's the color of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, you are from Arkansas, aren't you?
You bet. It's the color of Mountain Dew. We call that milk.
Drink your juice.
Drink your juice, hon.
Oh man, I'm not much into the finer details of what goes on inside the console, but it looks like there was some pretty, I don't know, advanced hardware going on in there. Very at least advanced for the time. So I guess that's what allowed it to display those nice 3D graphics and use that expansion pack and
oh, absolutely. Now, we've kind of said some of the good things. What are some of the things you don't like about other than the game library?
Or the library? I can't.
I didn't have one. I didn't have one growing up.
So I didn't
I wanted one, but I didn't get one.
Ooh, I know one. This is really no through fault of the 64 itself, but if you take yourself back to late 90s era, I did not like Nintendo 64 fanboys. Oh my God, they were annoying. I'm sure I was an annoying Sony fanboy, but still, that's besides the point.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I don't like, they did the Atari 5200 thing. And there's
no labels, and the labels that are on the front are horrible. If you get anything on them, they ruin.
Really? I'm looking at one right now.
Because like I clean all my games with alcohol.
Yeah.
If you get alcohol on those labels, the ink will come off.
So if I were to put some out, oh geez, this is like stuck on there for good, and it's already peeling. This one.
Yeah, Goo Gone doesn't work.
Yeah, that probably like eat away at it. I guess my biggest thing was I just had no other than like one game, and the other one that my friend had. Well, like I really had no just desire to play one. I didn't see what all the fuss was about, and I was still in that 2D camp, and I liked my games in 2D. So I mean, I didn't see what the big deal was. All right, 3D. It makes the camera is swerving. It's making me dizzy. It's messing up. I thought that was too much ado about nothing, if you will. So there's that. I don't know. It just wasn't my console of choice.
I was on board with the 3D at the time because it was new and I was a kid still, and new and shiny was awesome. I cling to my 2D graphics now, because that's how it was when I was a kid. But it's the 3D at the time. I was like, dude, it's in 3D. I remember I was playing. It was WCW versus NWO Revenge. One of the wrestling games. It's like $1 now, but it's a fantastic game. It's a lot of fun. But it was the first time you could see the wrestler's fingers. Like, oh, he's actually got fingers instead of just really? A mitt,
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, it was cool. I mean, this is like 1998. That was pretty solid. So
I can dig it. All right.
And Nintendo promoted the hell out of it when I sent the video tape and your Nintendo Power subscription.
For those who are listening, Charles just held up a VHS cassette tape of what's it called? Just Nintendo 64.
The Nintendo 64 changed system.
Wow.
Launched September 29th.
I don't have that one. I have the Star Fox one and the Donkey Kong Country one. I don't have that one.
That's cool.
I've got the Diddy Kong Racing one. I've got the Star Fox 64 one, and I've got the Donkey Kong Country one.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, Nintendo they hyped this thing up like crazy. Like maybe I was too young at the time, but with the Super Nintendo, I don't remember hearing all of this hype. All I knew was there's going to be a Mario 4. That was it. With this,
that was at the time. I mean, there was no hype. They didn't know how to hype. They had Nintendo Power and they hyped. With
sure.
Nintendo 64 things, they had real competition too. Everybody's like, well, Sega actually led the market share at one point. Well, okay, but did they really? PlayStation was they were a real competitor, and they actually kicked Nintendo's ass. So
yeah, no one took them seriously either, which is pretty amusing. So yeah, but Nintendo did market this thing, and they wanted it to be I mean, I still think it sold well. I don't have any statistics in front of me, but my guess is it did fine.
I'd say it did because I find them all the time.
Yeah. But Turf, earlier you mentioned what was that game? WCW
NWO Revenge.
Very nice. So, I mean, we are our parents' basement. We like to buy video games. So let's talk about some Nintendo 64 games, while we're on the topic of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll jump off in it with those.
All right.
THQ made 4 wrestling games, and they partner with AKI. THQ was the publisher, and I believe AKI might have been the developer. Anyways, They made WCW NWO World Tour, which was really cool. Then they got better with WCW NWO Revenge, and then the WCW lost their, they moved on. I guess the licensing was up or whatever, so they started making the WWF games. Now, if you know what I'm talking about at all, you paid attention to wrestling in the late 2000s. WCW and WWF were banging heads. That was a big rivalry. So to go one to the other was a big deal. Then they made WWF WrestleMania 2000 and then WWF No Mercy. No Mercy is still one of the best, if not the best wrestling game ever made.
Really?
It's a blast. Even if you don't like wrestling, the creative character is good and deep. You can do like branching storylines.
I play that one. Oh my goodness, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yep.
They do the little promos, and you get to pick your character's response, and however you respond, if you win a match or lose a match, it changes the story. It was unreal. It was awesome.
I made this character he had a big old afro, and when he walked out, I chose one of the female entrance poses for him. He was this big macho guy, but he would sashay on into the ring and put his hand on his hip, and he was wearing high heels, and it was so great. His special move was him dancing, he would hit dance and slam him down. It was, oh my goodness, I know exactly what you're talking about, Turf. Great choice.
It was a blast. All those games are fun, and they just steadily got better. And
is that the one with the ladder matches too?
Oh yeah, there was
ladder. Yep, I played that one. Good times.
It was real, and they steadily got every one of them got better. The first one was good. It's got characters with actual intros. They played the music, and then they did their own taunts and stuff. And that was dudes were doing crotch chops and throwing up the NWO, and that was awesome at the time. I was really in the late 2000s when I was in high school. Of course, a lot of people were really into wrestling. I was into wrestling.
Late 2000s or early 2000s?
Excuse me, late 90s, early 2000s is what I
Gotcha.
I got excited.
All right.
I'm NWO for life, just so you know, just because it's too sweet. That happened. That was a thing back in especially around my buddies. We did stuff like that. It was really cool. So we got together every Monday night and watched the show, watched the wrestling, and we'd get the pay-per-views and stuff. It was cool. It was a good time. So
memories.
we were in 100% on those games, and they're still fun to play. So there we go. Enough about wrestling.
What about you, Charles? Do you have any games that you just love off the top of your head?
So for Rampage.
I haven't played that one yet.
One of the 3 games I got.
Which one did you get? World Tour or Universal Tour? World Tour I've actually got it on my list. It's fun.
I love the arcade game. It's not graphically as good as the arcade game, but it's
still got Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, people say it's not as good as the arcade game. It's a bad port. It's a different game. Come on, you over critical critics.
You overcritical critics. Dummy faces.
But yeah, Rampage is fun. You get to destroy Schaumburg.
That's awesome.
I think he started Schaumburg.
Who doesn't love destroying Schaumburg?
That's a fun game.
And that's before IKEA was in Schaumburg, so it was okay to destroy Schaumburg.
You can destroy it now. I'm not a fan of IKEA. Oh, they're okay. They're all right.
All right, I'm gonna.
Turf, quick aside. Nashville's getting an IKEA now, so we don't have to go to Memphis to meet you guys there anymore for at least for an IKEA. Yeah, so we'll have to find some other excuse.
All right. So,
anyways, as you were,
I'll pull up a chair next to the fire, and we're gonna have story time. Story time with old Uncle Turf. I'm gonna tell you a tale. So, back when I was in high school, around the Nintendo 64 time, as things were, we had to do a news report for our speech class. We had
nice.
Do the anchor thing, and we're live on the scene. Well, what me and my buddies did, we went to a building that was falling down, and brick, literally falling down, brick was laying down. The windows were gone, things like that. And then we filmed. There's monsters in the area. They have destroyed destroyed the town of Franklin, and went on and on. Did the whole news report with the newscaster thing, part, and the whole deal. I wish I could find the tape. Anyways, we edited in footage that I recorded of Rampage.
Nice.
Live on the scene, and edited it. And of course, the editing is awful because I did it with 2 VCRs hooked together. It wasn't like
I would say what you use, but I
ran my Nintendo 64 through a VCR, and then that VCR to another VCR, so I could dub the tapes or get the tapes together.
Hey, that's creative though. That works.
It was creative. It was, and it was fun. We had a blast doing it. It's still funny. We also did a commercial for Titanic, which was we had a piece of styrofoam that wrote iceberg on it and slammed it into a toy boat in the bathtub. Which is, once again, it was hilarious. I wish you could find that.
These? I hope you have those still. So
my mom probably does it somewhere because she doesn't throw anything away.
All right, well,
you should get them on YouTube.
Yeah,
no, it'd be gold. It would be gold.
Yeah.
So
anyways, you get a good grade for that project?
I got A's in everything, man. Imagine this: I got A's in speech class. So,
hey, I said this before. I'll say it again. I got an A on my Pokemon speech in school, and it was the highest grade in the class too. So there's nothing. I believe every word of it, Turf. So there you go.
Right. It was funny. We also had going back to the wrestling, we had a thing that in 20, I guess it had been in 2000, vote for Hulk Hogan because he did like a spoof thing where he was running for president. Yeah. So we did a campaign commercial for Hulk Hogan in there too. We don't need a slogan, vote for Hogan.
Nice.
Then I think in the same video I declared my candidacy for president in 2016, but I missed that one. So
a little late, but that's okay. I would have voted for you. So
I think people should. I think I've got a good platform to run on.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what you want. Just leave everybody alone.
Yeah, so I need a good platform because I'm so short. No one will be able to see me.
Hey. All right. So sorry, y'all can go back to the games that you like.
Well, I have one to show real quick. It's the only one well, first off, Smash Brothers. Love Smash Brothers, and that was the game we got when we finally got our 64. But more recently, I got Ogre Battle 64, maybe about 6 years ago or so, 5 years ago, and this was what's up?
You said recently?
Yeah, recently-ish. I know. My sense of time is like, well, let me say this: I played it recently. I got this a while ago. Yeah. I don't know. It's awesome. I love it, but you know how there's always that one game that kind of makes you want to buy the system. This was it at the time, but still, I was more PlayStation. This is a great game. I mean, Atlas, their handiwork is awesome, and I got a sweet deal for this. And this is if you want RPGs, this is the only one you really need.
Now,
there you go.
I have a question. How many other games have 64 in the title?
A bunch.
A lot.
That's a good trivia question.
Voice is cracking.
Google. I'll keep going. I'm going to ask Google that.
All right. Well, what else you got there, Charles?
I got Mario Party 2.
Isn't that really rare, that one?
It's not easy to find, for sure.
All right. Good job, Charles. Good on you.
I think my buddy of mine found this at a thrift store.
Nice.
It was in a bag with Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer.
Is that the one that's not good, that Star Wars game?
The Pod Racer's not bad.
It's not bad? Okay. What am I thinking of?
And I don't think he paid that much for these two games. I think he maybe paid like $5 or $10 for the two of them.
And he just gave them to you?
Yeah.
Nice.
You don't got a Nintendo 64.
But you do. So there you go.
I didn't at the time when I got these. I said, I'll take those. I'll get a Nintendo 64 at some point in time.
And that actually brings up a good point. They are very inexpensive. The systems themselves are very inexpensive to buy. So, controller, console.
Controllers are getting high.
Are they really? Oh, damn.
They're kind of difficult because a good tight joystick's hard to come by. Tight. Tight joystick.
And I think there's not too many games that are over $100 for Nintendo 64.
Well, yeah, if you're like me, you like things nice and complete, then it'd be a pricey venture. But yeah, the cartridges by themselves, they can't be too high. I can't see them being that bad. So,
no, I mean, most of they're more expensive than they probably should be because most of them are shit games. But I mean, it's the truth. I mean, just in reality, over half the library is either sports or racing. So that's a bad. We'll put that up as the bads. But
and another part of that game library is, and this is the theme I've seen across genres, not just one type of game. A lot of the games are collectathons. In order to win, you need to collect a bunch of stuff, and that's that's a good way of saying it. This next game I have here, Quest 64, it's basically a collectathon. In order to get more powerful, you don't level up or blah blah blah. You just find magic, little magic spirit thingies, and that's what gives you more powerful spells to cast and more options. So I mean, it's a collectathon. And if memory serves, you had Donkey Kong 64. That was a collectathon. You had Jet Force Gemini. That was a collectathon. Glover, collectathon. Wasn't there a Conquer game that was not Bad Fur Day? Was that one too, though?
It's a collectathon, but it's still fun because it's got toilet humor.
Well, that one's funny because it's got curse words.
You got a poo monster.
An operatic poo monster. It sings the opera. What else? I mean, I feel like there's more. Was Mischief Makers one of those collectathons?
I've never played Mischief Makers. I can't even lie to you.
Okay.
I have it.
But you see my theme though? Like there was
a lot of that. And there was a lot of like the Spyro games and the on the PlayStation and Crash Bandicoot. They were the same type of deal.
Just find as much stuff as you can. That's what will make your score higher.
And we can move on.
You what?
You get this many and you can go past this gate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mario even, like, didn't you need a certain number of collected stars to move on? Yeah. So,
are we gonna count Clay Fighter 63 and a third as one of the games with 64 in the title?
I forgot about that. That's funny.
It is funny.
But no, we don't have to do that.
Okay,
Clay Fighter's hilarious.
All right. So y'all, as far as games go, there are a ton of good games, and I was in a different mode of game playing at the time. They may not be so good going back to them, but I really, really loved some of these. Like, let's see, of course, Mario Kart 64 is my favorite game on the system. It's
Mario Kart. That's a fun one. I'll give you that.
It's excellent to go back to. Smash is fun. Smash Brothers,
obviously.
Star Fox 64 is the best Star Fox game yet.
I agree with you. Yeah, I am terrible at it.
Even the remake for 3DS is fun.
We should do. We should try to like make that our booth or something at Louisville next time. Star Fox 64 tournament. I think it'll go well. Yeah,
that's actually a really good. I don't know anybody that does that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea.
Knowledge.
Right. Excuse me. Excitebike 64. That's another one with the 64 in the title.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that game. And me and my buddies, we played a lot of that dirt bike racing. You could do tricks and stuff. And a full Kobe. Speaking of full Kobe's, Kobe Bryant NBA Courtside was the first basketball game that. All right, let me frame this a little bit of perspective. When I was in high school, I played either power forward or center on our high school basketball team. It was a small school, and I was over 5'9", so I had to play center, and I was a big guy, clear off the lane.
Yeah.
We didn't have football, so I had to play basketball. So, anyways, it was the first game you could back somebody down. You know, you could put your back to them, and you could post up, and you could block out for rebounds. Is the first one that had a button for that. So I love the post mechanics for Kobe Bryant NBA Courtside, and it hasn't really been replicated, maybe that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fantastic at the time. Let's see. Star Wars Rogue Squadron. If you like Star Wars and you like airplanes, you need to play some Rogue Squadron. It's fun. It's good. You can get it on Steam, usually pretty cheap. It goes on sale a lot.
What about what's it called? Turok? Is that Dinosaur Hunter? That one? Was that any good?
I didn't like Turok. I had it. I bought it when it was like new, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the controls.
All right. I'm not good at first-person shooters, so I never tried it.
There was too much jumping for a first-person shooter. At the time, I was used to like Doom. Like, if we're going to play Doom first-person shooter or Wolfenstein and walk through a maze and shoot stuff, I was in. But jumping and stuff in a first-person shooter was awkward.
Okay, gotcha.
God, I was playing Doom the other day on Sega 32X. I'm playing, that's one game that doesn't hold up too well these days.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm to the M's right now I'm counting the games because I can't find an answer to it. I'm up to 20 and I'm just in the M's.
They have a 64 attached to the title?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the two games I have, Quest 64 and Ogre Battle 64, I mean, yeah, they were. I'll give them. They're easy to identify. I'll give them that. That's for damn sure.
Like
I give up. I'm just gonna say 40. There's 40.
Yeah.
Something.
In my whole collection of Nintendo 64 games, none of them have 64 in the title.
That's impressive, sir.
Well, that's 3 games. They're all right here.
What? I mean, I have 2, and they both do have 64. So that should tell you something. You know?
I have a bunch, and there's a shitload.
Yeah. So
let's see. Smash Ocarina of Time. Nobody said that. Did either one of y'all ever play that?
I have not.
I didn't like it. I'm gonna be weird.
Are you serious?
I thought Link moved really awkwardly. Like Turf is like blowing a gasket.
I'm good. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions.
Now, I will say this: Majora's Mask. I did not play it, but after reading the premise, I really want to play it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I loved Ocarina of Time. I loved it so much. I bought the 3DS version.
All right.
I do not like Majora's Mask at all.
Is it because of the whole time?
It's the time.
Yeah, just about to ask that.
I don't like that, but Ocarina of Time, like the idea of like you could be young Link, you could be old Link, you could, go back and forth. You got Eponia. That was awesome. Epona.
The horse?
Yeah, the horse.
Of course. All right.
There's a lot of things in that showed up for the first time that live on in the Legend of Zelda series. So that's cool. Ocarina of Time's a good.
I respect that game. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't really care for it. Like I think you can like it's like the kind of like me in the Fire Emblem series. I don't really care for the games, but I respect the series for what it does and what its history. Same thing with Ocarina of Time. Solid game. It's not the solid game for me. So there you go.
See, what else might have there been? Smashed. Oh, I like the Tony Hawk games. Did y'all play those?
I did. Those are fun. Yeah.
But they're on everything. They're on Dreamcast and PlayStation and all that stuff. So you can't really count that. But Tony Hawk 2 is the titties.
Did you ever play Hybrid Heaven?
I've never played it.
That was one I wanted. I do want to try that one at some point.
Well, you could anytime you want to, sir.
All right. Oh, you have it?
Yeah.
All right. I'll be over in an hour.
Just drive on over. There's a couple of games something else that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
At the time, basketball was a big deal in my life. So NBA Hang Time and NBA Showtime, they were the sequels to NBA Jam by Midway. And it was 3-on-3 basketball, I believe. Maybe. Yeah. And you could make your own. I made an alien and his name was Bob all the time because you could only put in 3 characters. Oh. And you had a list of names that it would say. So, or list, pre-recorded speech that the whoever the announcer guy, and it's Bob for 3. Chopping, you could tell like it was putting pieces together and the inflection went right.
That's still neat that it did that though. That's pretty cool.
It was neat, and you could say you could pick a name and it would say like Stinky and the Money Man and things like that. It was really cool to have those nicknames and stuff. So Bob the alien, you were the man. Yeah, and then the wrestling games, Wave Race, NFL Blitz.
Oh yeah, Wave Race. I wasn't very good at Wave Race, but I did enjoy just like, chances are if you button mash, you did some sort of cool trick. That's what I took from it,
You could do a barrel roll.
Yeah, before the barrel roll was like the internet. I mean, that it is, well, back then, before, what's his name? Peppy Hair or whatever. Yeah. It
was the boost to chase.
Good times.
Do a barrel roll. Yeah, there was a lot of really good games on the system. A lot of really good games that were maybe not even exclusives, but that everybody else was doing too. That might have been on the Dreamcast or may have been on the PlayStation. Did the PS1? Did it have Gauntlet Legends on it?
I think it did.
I know the PlayStation
it wasn't
did.
4-player, but it did.
Nintendo 64 did, and I had it, and it was awesome.
4-player goodness, right?
4-player goodness. There you go. Back to the 4 players. 4 players for wrestling, 4 players for basketball, 4 players for Mario Kart, and the list goes on. Yep. I'm gonna keep talking because
Oh, I got one. I just saw one. Then you can
you go first.
Is that cool? This was also kind of this falls into the bad part. I am a Kirby fan for life. I thought Kirby the Crystal Shards, or Kirby 64 if you're nasty, was not that good. It was
balls.
What'd you say?
It was absolute balls.
Okay. Well, now I don't feel so bad. Yeah, I mean, Kirby deserved better than that shit. I mean, I love seeing him in 2.5D. It wasn't even 3D, so don't lie to yourselves, America. It was 2.5D. Okay, little bit of a tangent here. When I first played Kirby's Dream Land, one of the things I appreciated was that, okay, Kirby can fly for an infinite amount of time, and he'll be cool. He'll be good forever. You can stay in the air the entire time. In Kirby 64, for some reason, if you try to fly for too long, he starts to flail like me on Malort and will drop to the floor.
Like I was like, you on Malort?
Yeah. Exactly. Anyways, so I mean, I thought what they did to Kirby, he deserved a lot better than that. So
you deserve better, sir.
Yeah. Anyways, now Turf, now you can. All right. I had to get out of my system.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Whenever you come up with something, you gentlemen, feel free to talk. This is not the Turf show starring Turf.
I do have one thing. When you're
I think
Nintendo 64 gave us one of the first viral YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
Of the N64 kids.
The N64 kid? Nintendo 64!
Yes!
Wait, what?
Yes! The Nintendo
Have you not ever seen the video of the kid that gets a Nintendo 64 for Christmas and loses his shit?
Yeah, it's like 1998.
This is on YouTube?
Yeah. Nintendo 64 kids.
But it was recorded before YouTube was around.
Yeah, they uploaded it like in
2005. Okay.
Right when YouTube became YouTube, like in 2005, they uploaded it, and
it's huge. It's like the kid's a meme.
Hey, he's happy. I'm excited for him.
They got a commercial, like a car commercial that they used it in. You've seen it. You just don't remember.
I'll have to look for that then. I mean, that sounds fun. I'm not sure.
Nintendo 64 kid. You'll find.
I'll find something. All right. Cool. All
right. There was a cool idea / experiment / project that was with the Nintendo 64. It was a video game, it was a book, and it was a comic simultaneously. Cool idea, right? Star Wars, Shadow of the Empire.
Oh, neato. All right.
It's extra Star Wars story that was canon at the time. I think it may still be.
I think they canned that canon.
They can that?
Can the canon.
I thought maybe they did. Anyways, it's at the same time it was a book, video game, and comic book series at the same time. It's actually a really good game. There's a lot of fog, that dreaded Nintendo 64 fog where you can't see more than 25 feet in front of you. But it surprisingly controls okay, and it's fun. It's a cool story that takes place between between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and you run into characters that are, background characters in the game. Han's frozen, at the time, and
I think Chewbacca goes undercover.
Yeah, Luke is your Dash Rendar is your character's name, and you've got a ship. I believe it's called the Outrunner, maybe
Outrider. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's
was he elsewhere? This Dash kid?
Nope.
No. Okay.
He's very Han Solo-ish.
Sure.
So but it's very cool, very good game. It was one of those where you got to take down a TIE fighter, or not TIE fighter. You got to take down the walkers, the AT-AT walkers, with the snow speeder.
Yeah.
You got to do it there before you did Rogue Squadron, which Rogue Squadron obviously did it better, but it is what it is. But it was still very, very neat to throw your harpoon and drive around in circles until that thing fell over.
Yeah.
Lots of varied gameplay, a lot of secrets in it. It's a super, super fun game. And also it is a very, very good book. If you can find a copy of it, if you're a Star Wars nerd, your original trilogy nerd, give yourself a treat and have that.
All right. Cool. Very cool. Well, were there any games, we're getting a little short on time, but quick question. Was there any games that you just could not stand? Like, I mentioned Kirby. So anything like that?
Yeah, games that Quest really let me down. That was Quest 64.
Oh yeah.
I was on my RPG kick. I've just come off of Final Fantasy 3 and Chrono Trigger, and y'all have heard me talk about that a lot on this show. I'm a big fan, and then I don't like RPGs now, or role-playing games, if you will. I fell off after that because that was such a disappointment of a role-playing game.
It was a collectathon. Yeah, with
Absolutely.
RPG mask on.
And I was expecting that turn-based fighting, the turn, like JRPGs, but you had to like get people inside your circle, and then you had to hit them in your circle, and I don't know, it was your perimeter, your fence, whatever they called it.
He had a cowlick that just would not quit. I mean, come on, dude.
It reminded me of Quailman from remember Doug? Yeah, when he had the belt on his head.
That thing, yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, I can see that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was the one that just really that I bought and was just a huge disappointment that I never finished it. I just kind of played it for a little while and went, damn the bad luck. They got money. And money was hard to come by then.
Still
I was
is,
just
but
a child.
And I can't really think of any other titles. You mentioned Quest 64. I thought Yoshi's Story was kind of lame because after Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, I was like, oh my god, there's gonna be another one in like 64, sweet. And
it was weak.
Yeah,
it was weak sauce to say the best, sir.
So, well, you two, we are running short on time-ish. So I will say this about the 64. I think it has a solid reputation in video game history. Again, it's not my favorite console of all time, but I do appreciate the games and experiences that I had with it. I mean, Smash Brothers is legendary thanks to the 64. I mean, that game keeps on selling Nintendos, so it's doing. So the Quest 64 did a lot of things right, and yeah, I'm proud to say that I do own one. I will say that. Any closing thoughts on the 64, gentlemen?
I think it's a lot of hate that's undeserved.
Sure.
I think it's a good console. Did a lot of things first, but just because you do them first doesn't mean you do them the best.
Very nicely said.
It does have its flaws.
Very nicely said.
Yeah, I'm still growing in the N64, so got to get more games and play it a bit more and learn more about it.
We went this whole time and did not mention GoldenEye.
Oh wow, yeah.
Nobody mentioned GoldenEye.
Well, so there we go. That's something we've all played.
It was like the big first-person shooter for a time.
Yeah.
So a lot of college dorms had GoldenEye. Everybody killing each other.
GoldenEye is supposed to be with every Nintendo 64 or something like that now. Which I don't have GoldenEye yet. Gotta be my
Snipers only, license to kill. That's how we did it. So
I'd say, yeah. There you go. Get really crazy. Use the golden gun.
Mm-hmm. The man with the golden gun setting. You mean is that?
Yeah.
Where there's only one golden gun, and if you find it,
one golden gun, 3 nipples.
Yep. You shoot the guy in the foot dead. So
yeah. All right. Anyways, so we've covered that pretty well. I think we did a good job covering the Nintendo 64. I think we need to put it to bed. How do you gentlemen feel about that?
Well, Turf, I think if someone could put it to bed, it is you, because you have that melodious tone of voice that just, gets me where it counts. So, you want to do our send-offs for us?
Well, I'll tell you what. If you enjoyed this episode of Our Parents' Basement, you can look right over there, and there's more episodes of this glorious podcast. Now, that's the video version, and it's not necessarily the best version, but it's still pretty cool. It's all live, and you get to see all the hilarious bloopers that we might do. Now, if you like the crisp one, the more polished version of Our Parents' Basement, you can check out the audio-only version of the podcast. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, anywhere you can find your beautiful podcast to download to your mobile device. We are right there for you. And you know what? If you find one that it's not like, hey, I'm on Pod Snatcher, but it doesn't have Our Parents' Basement, let me know. I'll make sure we're on there. And if you want to let me know, you can hit me up on Twitter at OPB Podcast on Twitter, Facebook.com/OPB Podcast. You got to get in the picture. We're on Instagram at OPB Podcast. We knocked down everything that was OPB Podcast we could come up with.
Very nice. And that is the truth. Well, you two, thanks for joining once again on a lovely Thursday evening. And next week, we will be back with another episode with some new stuff to talk about. I'm excited about it. And yeah, I think that's about it. So we'll see you all real soon.
All right. Y'all have a good evening.
Bye.